Whether you've been in business for a while or you were just starting out, you have probably come across the concept of a niche or niche. Who do you serve? Who is your client? Who is your customer? I honestly think this is one of the hardest parts of having your own business. How do you determine who to help? Quick introduction. My name is Sanique and I am a business coach. And what I do in short is I help women turn their expertise, their skill, their knowledge into a business. And what I have found is that pretty much all of my clients struggle a lot with finding their niche. They either go way too broad because they're scared of not attracting enough clients or losing out on clients, or they go super, super detailed and specific and they work out this entire client avatar full of unnecessary details, all with ChatGPT or Claude, and it is just not necessary. So, to hopefully save you a lot of time and energy, I want to go over a formula with you on finding your niche consisting of just 4 elements. 4 elements, nothing more, nothing less. And to make it even easier for you, I have also created a template which you can use to basically just play around with all of the different elements from the formula. You can use it anytime you want. I will put the link in the description box down below and we'll just go over it in this video as well. But before we go into the formula, I first want to give you some context as to why having a niche is so important, because everyone always says that it is super, super important to have one. But I don't know about you, but when I first started a business, I was pretty confused and I didn't really see the need to niche down because I was just starting out. So I thought I just don't really need one. I can just start testing without having a niche and trying to attract some clients first. But really, it is important to have a niche, even if you're just starting out. So let's dive into why you need one first. Okay, so why do you need a niche? Well, there are 2 types of businesses. You have 2 types of niches, really. You can either be a small fish in a big pond. Let's just say you're the pink fish and this is the niche that you're in. Or you can be a big fish in a small pond. Again, you're the pink fish here in this very small pond, where the pond obviously is your niche. Now, first, let me clarify why being a big fish in a small pond has so much more benefits than being a small fish in a big pond. For example, let's say that you are a women's health coach. So the niche that you're in is women's health coaching. Now, what you'll see here is, first of all, you will have a lot of competition because obviously there are going to be a lot of other coaches out there who also focus on women's health. So there's going to be a number of other fishes swimming in the same pond, swimming in the same niche, because it is a very popular niche and it will be very hard for you to distinguish yourself, because not only are there many, many other fish, but there are also going to be bigger fish than you are. There are going to be people out there who have more credibility, more experience, and it is just way harder because you have a lot of competition here. So what that means is, if you want to distinguish yourself, if you want to attract clients, you will have to compete on price with all of these other women health coaches out there. So the only way for you to compete is on price, by lowering your price to such a point that the others here are in such a higher segment that people will buy your offer simply because you are the cheapest one. Now, as a result of that, you will also have a different process for every single client that comes your way. So say that again, you are a women's health coach. There are going to be a lot of women who are going to be interested in your services, especially if you are on the lower price point. So what will happen is there will come women to you. There are women who are fishing in this pond here, who are looking for health coaching, but they all have different problems. So there's going to be women with gut health issues who want your services, but there's also going to be women with headaches or stress or any other problem. So whenever you have a new client, you will naturally need a new or different process to start helping them, because they all have a different issue. So it is really hard to kind of duplicate or improve your process because every single client needs a different process. And obviously you want to have like some form of customized or personalized coaching, but it would help a lot if at least part of your process is the same, because that will also mean that you will eventually get an expert status. Imagine you only focus on women with the exact same problem. Eventually, you will start to have more and more expertise. You will know their problem. You will know their struggles, their needs. So you will become an expert and you will not feel such an imposter. However, if, like I said, you have clients that struggle with gut issues, but also you have clients that struggle with stress, then it can be really hard for you to start feeling like an expert here, which is going to affect your confidence. And another point I want to make here, if you do not really choose a specific niche, you will have a lot of random clients. You will not get to decide who you help. You will pretty much just help every single woman out there who has health issues. So you will have clients that you like, but you will also have clients that maybe you don't really like or that you just don't really feel connected to. And I mean, you started a business for a reason. You started a business because you want to do something that you love. But if you have so many random clients, then that is really going to affect the way that you feel about your business. And the last thing here is you are going to have a very vague message if you do not have a specific niche. Because let's say that you are a women's health coach and you want to post something on LinkedIn. You want to promote your services. So you say something like, hey, are you a woman interested in health coaching? And then you just go into the program that you have. Then there's not going to be a lot of people who think like, hey, yes, that's me. Because what is women's health? Like every single woman has health issues. We all do. So there is not really someone who is going to be like, yes, that is me. I want to have your services. So it is going to be a very fake message. It is going to be really hard for potential clients to really understand what you have to offer. Now, on the other hand, if you decide that you're going to be a big fish in a small pond here, let's say that instead of focusing on women's health here, you focus on becoming a health coach for female lawyers who struggle with menopause. So still, it is the same pond here, but you just made it a lot more specific by not just coaching any women. You only coach women who are also lawyers who struggle with menopause. So you have specified your niche here. Now, what happens then? Obviously, you're going to have a lot less competition because there's not going to be a lot of other health coaches who also focus on this specific problem. So what will happen is that you do not have to compete on pricing. You don't have to have the lowest price to get clients. You can compete on brand because if you establish yourself as a person who coaches women who struggle with menopause, then those women are naturally going to feel attracted to you and they will want your services because they feel like you understand them. They like your personality. They look you up online and they will either become a fan of you and what you do or they won't, and then they will choose someone else. So you're not competing on price here, you're competing on brand. And some people will choose your brand, where others will simply choose one of these other ones. But you will not have to lower your price in order to get clients, if that makes sense. And another thing here that I think is super important is that you get to implement a similar process for every single one of your clients. And that does not mean that you do not offer a customized program. It simply means you can take and duplicate some parts of your program and reuse them, which is going to make your life so much easier. And not only that, it will also be beneficial for your clients because you will achieve expert status a lot quicker. You will get the experience that you need with every single client because they all have the same problem, they have the same struggles, and they have a similar process of you helping them. So you will become an expert so much faster and you will not feel as such an imposter. And that also means that you will establish a connection with your audience. You will establish trust. You will build a relationship with your audience because they trust that you know what you're talking about because all you do is talk about their specific problem. And you will naturally feel a connection to them because you have specifically chosen them. You have specifically chosen this group over any other woman who needs health coaching. You chose female lawyers in menopause, which means you probably feel connected to those women because otherwise you would have chosen someone else. So naturally, you will like working with these women because you chose them. They did not choose you because of your pricing. You chose them. And that will also help you so much with clarifying your message. Again, let's just say that you're going to post something on LinkedIn about your services and you're going to say something like, hey, are you a female lawyer and do you struggle with menopause? Well, every single one of the female lawyers out there that is going to read that post who also struggles with menopause is going to be like, whoa, yes, that is me. And immediately they're hooked because they're thinking like, whoa, this is specifically for me. This girl really understands what I'm talking about. And that's what's going to make them want to work with you. So the more you specify your niche, the easier it will become to attract clients. It is such a misconception that if you choose a really big pond, that there's going to be a lot of demand, so naturally you will get a lot of clients. That is just not the case because there's going to be so much competition here, whereas here you will feel like so much more of an expert, you will build trust with your community, and you will actually get the clients that you really want to work with. So that's what we're going to focus on. By the end of this video, you will have specified your specific niche, one that you actually really like. Now, as promised, we're not going to go into demographics. I have just one simple formula for you, and it exists of just 4 elements. So it goes like this. I help a specific group of people who want a specific result, overcome a specific problem they have through a specific solution that you offer. Now, this is going to make sense to you in a few seconds. So, what we have here, we have people here who want a specific result. That is what they want to achieve. That is their happy ending. That is the transformation that they want to go through. However, there is a problem that is standing in their way that is keeping them from reaching the result that they want to have. And to overcome that problem, they will need your solution to help them get here. Because people don't buy information. They don't want to pay for information. They pay for transformation, from getting them from one point here across the other side to the point that they want to be at, to the results they want to achieve. That is what people pay for transformations. So that is what you're going to offer them. So again, we have these 4 different elements here. We have people, we have a result they want, we have the problem that is getting in their way, and we have your solution, how you are going to help them get there. Now, to use the same example that I used before, let's say that the people that you want to help are female lawyers. And the result they want to achieve is they want to reach their targets. Again, they are lawyers, so they want to reach their targets. That is the result that we're going for in this example. However, what is keeping them from reaching their targets is menopause. So what you can offer as the solution here to help them reach their targets and overcome menopause is health coaching. You guide them through this problem here so that they can eventually reach their targets. Now, the thing here is you can make these 4 different elements as broad or specific as you'd like. So you will see that each of these 4 elements will either be super specific or it will be very, very broad. And the idea here, the idea of the formula, is that you specify at least a few of these elements. Because the broader you are on the spectrum, the bigger the pond, so the smaller the fish you are. So to find the right niche, you want to make sure that you specify at least a few of these elements here. Now let's just go over this example of the female lawyers again. In this example, the first element, so the people here, is a very specific element. Female lawyers is a very specific group of people. Then the result that they want to have, I would say this result, so reaching their targets, is pretty broad because pretty much every single person wants to reach their targets. Obviously, every single person has different targets that they want to reach, but the result on its own, without the rest of the formula, is pretty broad. Now, let's go over to the problem here. The problem of struggling with menopause is super, super specific because not everyone struggles with menopause. Only a specific group of women struggle with this. And since you already specified the niche here, since you specified the people you help, you chose to not help every single woman out there struggling with menopause. You chose lawyers only. So see how they all work together here. And because of that, your offer here, your solution can be super, super broad. Because again, your solution on its own, health coaching, is very, very generic. However, combined with this specific group of people, with this specific problem, you have a pretty specific niche. So the idea here is that I would say at least half of the elements should be on the green side of the spectrum, and the other half can be on the red side of the spectrum, so they can be broad. But the more you are in the green here, obviously the more specific your niche is, the smaller your pond is. So the more expertise you will gain and the bigger the fish you will become. Now, let's use a different example here. Let's say that the people you want to help are women, so women in general. And the result they want to achieve is they just want to be healthier. And what's getting in their way of that is health issues. So to help them overcome their health issues and become healthier, you offer health coaching. Now, if we go back to the spectrum here, let's see how this niche does. So the people you're trying to help here, women, is a very broad niche, because that's literally going to be like half of the population here. Now, the result that you are going to help them achieve is also super broad, because pretty much every single person wants to be healthier. And also the problem that they have, health issues, is super, super generic. Again, pretty much every single person out there has some form of health issue. So it is also a super broad element here. And then also your offer, so the solution that you offer is, again, super broad. So this niche here scores very, very poorly, which means it is a very big pond with a lot of other fish, so you are a very small fish. Now, you're probably already thinking of how you can formulate this for yourself, and that is what I have a template for. So let's just dive into the template, and you can start filling in your own niche there. So this is the template that I made for you, and I also use with my clients. It is inside Notion, which is a free app, so you can just download it. And it's also not sponsored or anything like that. I just really love Notion. You can download the template in the link in the description box. But first, let me just go over how I would use it if you were trying to find your niche. Now, I start again with the formula, with the niche formula. So I help people who want a specific result overcome a specific problem through your specific solution. Now, for each of these elements, I have created a table here. So you can start playing around with different niches, with different elements here in this table. So to just illustrate you how it works, I have again added the same example that I used before into the table. So for example B here, let me select it for you. The first element is obviously people. So I chose female lawyers. Now, in the next column here, you are going to specify if this element here, if it's specific or if it's broad or if it's somewhere in the middle. So where on the spectrum does this element lie? Now, you're going to do the same for the result. So this is the result that they want to achieve, and this is the spectrum that result lies on. So how specific is reaching their targets? You will do the same for the problem. So first you list the problem and then you select where it lies on the spectrum. Is it specific, in the middle, or is this a broad problem? And then lastly, you do the same for your solution. So you write down your solution here, your offer basically, and then you pinpoint whether it's broad or specific. Now, once you've done that, if you go to the second tab here, you will see a board view. Now, this will give you a very nice overview of every single niche that you put in here. So right now we have example A here and we have example B. So you will see example A and example B. And you can immediately see that this one is super, super broad. So this is the example that I mentioned, which is just helping women become healthier. They struggle with health issues. So that's the problem that they have. And your offer is health coaching. Now you can immediately see that every single item here is broad, which means this is a very generic niche. This is a very big pond you are swimming in. The other example here, you will see that there is a little bit more green here, which is good. Green is good, red is bad. Now, from filling this in, you will probably already see that this is a way better niche than this one. And the more you try to fill in here, the more you start playing around with these different elements, the more you will see which niche to choose from. You can literally just add a new page here. You can start filling in some examples, using different people, using different results. And if you want to play around with an existing niche here, you can also just duplicate this. So you click here on duplicate and you just play around with, for example, the people here. So say that you do not like working with female lawyers, you can just change it up here to anything else. And that's how you can start playing around with this niche here. Now, there are 3 things that I want to mention here. And the first is that for each of these elements here, you have to ask yourself, are you feeling passionate about this element here? Because obviously you started your business for a reason. You started it because you want to do something that you love. So each of these elements should actually help you do something that you love. For example, if you do not feel passionate about working with female lawyers, then don't. Choose a different niche. Or if you really don't like working with people who are struggling with menopause, then Choose a different problem. Make sure that the problem you choose or every other element of the formula is something that you deeply feel passionate about. The more passionate you are about each of these elements, the more authentic your niche will feel, the more you will like working with these people. That being said, if you are still in the beginning phase of your business, this is going to be pretty hard. Having to specify each of these elements is maybe even impossible because you just don't know what you don't know. So in the beginning, if you were just starting out, you will not exactly know who you're passionate about or who you're not passionate about. And you're maybe also not entirely sure which problem you like working with the most. The general rule of thumb here is the further you are in your business, the more expertise you have, the more experience you have, the more you can specify each of these elements. In the beginning, I would say try and specify 2 of the elements here, and the other 2 can still be a little bit broad. And the more experience you gain, the more you can specify. This is a very dynamic document. You can use it whenever you want. And that brings me to my third point. You can always change your niche. You can always pivot. I think pretty much every single business owner out there has changed or pivoted at least once in their business. Because the thing is, it is your business and you change, you keep growing, and you keep experiencing new things. So you will naturally feel more inclined towards one problem in one phase of your life and another problem in another phase of your life. Especially if you experience a specific problem yourself, like for instance, menopause, you might be feeling more inclined to work with people who also experience that because you have gone through it yourself. The idea of choosing a niche this way is simply that you can make it something that you actually like. You can choose the people you work with based on how passionate you are about the people, about the result they want to achieve, and about the problem they have. Just start playing around with them. You don't have to decide in one day. You can also choose a couple of different niches and try different niches, and then in a few months, you come back to this and then you decide. It is really up to you. And once you think you have come up with a specific niche, you can write it down here. So you can start filling in the formula here so that you have it super, super clear who you help. And I think this will also really help you whenever someone asks you, like, hey, what do you do? Instead of just saying, like, hey, I'm a health coach, you can literally say, hey, well, I help this specific group of people. I help female lawyers who want to reach their targets but struggle with menopause. I help them with coaching. And once you have filled in the formula here, I also made a little checklist for you here to make sure that you are a big fish in a small pond and you actually like the pond that you're swimming in. Now, if you want to download this template, if you want to work from this table here, all you have to do is click on the link in the description box, and that will guide you to this page. And what you will do, you will receive an email with this link here. And once you open the link, you can click on this duplicate button here, and then you will duplicate the template into your own Notion account, which is free. You can just use the free version. Again, this is not sponsored. You just sign up for a free account and then you can start filling in your niche from there. If that is not for you, if you don't like Notion or you don't want to download the template, you can obviously just use a piece of paper or your laptop or anything else you use to write things down. Because really all you need is these 4 different elements and you can write them down on a list. You can use the template. It is totally up to you. Now, if you filled in the formula and you have found your niche, I would honestly love it if you would put it in a comment and put it underneath this video so that I can see your niche. And maybe if you want, I can even give you feedback on it. So drop a comment down below with your niche and let me know if you want to have feedback on it or not. And if you want more of these videos, then please subscribe to my channel because I plan to make more of them soon.